these landings to various areas to await touchdown. 8 are at the expected landing site southeast of Jeskisgan in Kazakhstan, and 2 more will be ready about 250 miles away in the area where touchdown would occur if a ballistic entry happened.
Descent. What does this mean?
The final 2 helicopters will loiter midway between the 2 areas. We're, of course, not expecting a ballistic entry, but always are prepared for one. Also deployed for the landing are 6 all-terrain vehicles and 3 Antonov airplanes that serve as flying command centers. They'll have direct communication with the crew and will relay those communications back to Moscow. The journey of the MS-20 crew started just 11 days ago in Baikonur, Kazakhstan, where they launched from the Baikonur Cosmodrome on December 8th at 1:38 a.m. Central Time. You can see video of that picture-perfect launch here. 4 orbits and 6 hours later, Misurkin, Maezawa, and Hirano arrived for their brief stay on the space station at 7:40 a.m. Central Time.
明るくてすごい映り込んでる。ちょっと待ってくださいね。はい、どうでしょう。
Great view of them here inside the cabin on launch day. They are now back in those seats, getting ready to return to Kazakhstan for their landing. During their time at the space station, they did not join the Expedition 66 crew officially. Instead, Misurkin was considered a visiting crew member, while Maezawa and Hirano are designated as spaceflight participants. For the journey back to Earth tonight, Misurkin will of course be the Soyuz commander. Maezawa is taking the role of Board 1 engineer, and Hirano, Board 2 engineer. The 3 said their goodbyes and closed hatches between the 2 vehicles at approximately 1:20 Central Time, though they did reopen those hatches briefly around 2:30 and close them again for good at 2:32 p.m. Crew didn't come back out of the Soyuz at that time, and you can see video here of the last glimpse we got of them before they got into their Soyuz Sokol suits and strapped into their seats for return.
Have you called?
Да.
Yes, I did. Just a reminder. 024200 is their command. At 0240, I suggest you issue R12 or R Romeo 12 command. Definitely.
Return back. We said it live. Okay. Yeah, it's enough. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you, everything.
Space Station Commander there, Anton Shkaplerov, waving goodbye to the crew, giving a final thumbs up after that initial hatch closure, which again took place around 1:20 p.m. Central Time. Final hatch closure took place around 2:32 p.m. Misurkin, Maezawa, and Hirano left behind on the space station side of the hatch 7 members of the Expedition 66 crew. In addition to the commander, Shkaplerov, they are leaving behind flight engineer Pyotr Dubrov, also of Roscosmos, NASA astronauts Mark Vande Hei, Rajachari, Tom Marshburn, and Kayla Barron, as well as European Space Agency astronaut Matthias Maurer. All of that crew is preparing for the space station version of the holidays now and hoping for a pre-Christmas delivery aboard SpaceX 24, Cargo Dragon that is headed to launch on Tuesday and arrive at the space station on Wednesday. The next step in tonight's journey, of course, will be undocking, coming up at 5:50 p.m. Central Time, about 13 minutes from now.
42分からアンドッキングだから回したら、いや、本当にギリで回します。全然電池が持たないで。そうなんだ。はい。40じゃあ42からプリパレあれですね。そうだ。49がアンドッキング。はい。そこは確実に回します。
Still about 12 minutes away from today's undocking time, but just 10 minutes away from the time that the undocking command will be sent. At that point in time, Alexander Misurkin, the Soyuz commander, will be sending a command to open hooks and latches between their Soyuz and the Poisk Mini Research Module 2, where it's been docked since December 8th. Once the two vehicles are disconnected, just 2 minutes later, the Soyuz thrusters will automatically fire and back away from the spacecraft, back the spacecraft away from the Poisk at a speed of just over 1/4 mile per hour. Then within 3 minutes of undocking, the vehicle will be about 50 feet away from the space station, at which point Misurkin will be able to conduct the first separation burn, firing the Soyuz jets for about 8 seconds to begin moving away from the space station at a rate of 1.2 miles per hour. When it's almost 200 feet away, just under 6 minutes after undocking, the engines will fire again for 15 seconds, speeding the spacecraft up to 3.5 miles per hour. And that should get it to a point about 20 miles away in time for the scheduled 8:18 p.m. Central Time deorbit burn.
I sent the command to activate Close at 024000. Close transmitter. We copy. Display plus TV. Confirmed. And I am on approach, rendezvous, and final approach display. Copy. Just wanted to remind you to send the next command from the control panel. I will be ready.
We haven't been able to show you any live views outside of the space station because it has been dark, but we are now coming into the daylight portion of this orbit while the station and the Soyuz MS-20 orbit about 260 miles above India. We'll be crossing over into China just in the next few minutes, and we should be have some good lighting for the actual undocking, which is now about 8 minutes away.
And Bdus. 3 accelerometer. Confirmed.
Since the hatches between the Soyuz and the Poisk Mini Research Module closed this afternoon, the crew inside the Soyuz has been steadily making their way through their checklist in preparation for their landing tonight. Shortly after the 1:20 p.m. closing of the hatch, Misurkin helped Maezawa and Hirano into their so-called launch and entry spacesuits and got them strapped into their Soyuz seats. Soyuz was then taken off the space station's power and put on it autonomous power, and the settings needed for deorbit, such as their state vectors and the change in speed for the deorbit burns, were entered into the spacecraft's computers. The vestibule between the Soyuz and the Poisk module was also depressurized, and a series of leak checks was performed to be sure that the Soyuz could safely undock. The MS-20 is now safely, the MS-20's crew is now safely ensconced in the descent module of the Soyuz, which contains the customized seats they use during launch and landing to soften their touchdown. It also has all of the controls and displays necessary for flight, as well as the life support systems.
Send the S-17 command.
batteries for re-entry and landing. And of course it also has the parachutes and self-landing rocket engines that will slow the Soyuz down just before touchdown.
Wide angle, let's stay with the narrow one. Well, it has always been, it was initially a wide angle one, but I can switch over to the narrow. Let's do that. Done.
The descent portion of the Soyuz is the only part that will stay with the crew all the way back to Earth. The orbital module, which is currently directly connected to the station's Poise module, will separate from the descent module about 24 minutes after the deorbit burn, when the Soyuz is about 87 miles above the Earth. We are now about 6 minutes away from the scheduled 5:50 p.m. central undocking.
A little bit narrower. Try and use the agency mode once. And I have selected one.
Copy. I'm activating a copy. It is activated. Copy.
And IKV inhibit command went through. I see the confirmation.
4 minutes now until Misurkin sends that command to undock the Soyuz. About 5 minutes left until the Soyuz actually begins backing away from the space station.
We see IKV inhibit, and we are receiving the video. GSO 1, is that what we need to have? Because we don't see it yet. It is possible that you're not going to get GSO 1.
Seeing some live video here from inside of the control center or just outside of Moscow, where the Roscosmos flight control team is working through the steps needed for today's undocking and landing. We'll be seeing video from them occasionally throughout the flight, as well as we should be getting live video back from the space station in just a moment. And the team here on the ground also confirmed that we are getting downlink from the Soyuz itself, so we hope to have some of that to show you throughout the coverage as well.
We are receiving the image again. That's good. And what about GSO 1? You did not comment. It may not come up. Copy. And I am ready to send Delta 7 command
Moscow
at
Station on Space to Ground 1 for telemetry recording. Go ahead and Space to Ground 1. At 23:46,
yes, at 02,
recording mode was activated.
Please send the command.
The recording is in progress.
Less than 2 minutes now until Alexander Misurkin sends that undocking command. Again, that doesn't actually set the time before undocking. That occurs just a couple of minutes later when we see physical separation between the Soyuz and this International Space Station. That undocking expected to come at 5:50 p.m. Central Time.
Thank you.
I confirm the 7 went through. The probe is retracted, hooks are closed, latches are retracted, and we see the mechanical connection, and I am ready.
30 seconds now into the undocking command.
024900. Copy. 024900 is the time. I issued the command to close the hooks at 024900. The LED is no longer illuminated.
Undocking command sent by Soyuz Commander Alexander Misurkin, setting the undocking in motion. But again, it'll be a minute and a half before the undocking occurs. And watch for physical separation here on the screen.
The electrical connections is no longer illuminated. The transfer hatch is illuminated.
Standing by for undocking.
Moscow Station and space to ground 1.
Mechanical connection is no longer illuminated.
Go ahead and space to ground 1. Current Terra 1.
And we are standing by for combined SSVP mode complete.
-39 and -39. This is the value of the second value.
And
parity,
we confirm that.
And there you see it, undocking occurring now. Soyuz MS-20 crew is officially on its way home. They arrived at the space station on December 8th, spent 12 days living on board the orbiting complex, and now are making their way back for a landing tonight at 9:13 p.m. Central Time. That undocking, of course, occurred again right on time at 5:50 p.m. Central Time, while the space station and Soyuz were traveling 263 miles above Mongolia. MS-20 there, pulling away from the International Space Station. Once again, undocking occurred right on time at 5:50 p.m. Central, while the station and Soyuz were traveling 263 miles above Mongolia. Crew inside, Alexander Misurkin, Yusaku Maezawa, and Yozo Hirano are now on their way back to Earth, scheduled to touch down in Kazakhstan at 9:13 p.m. Central Time.
Dmitry, I monitored.
This view coming from the Soyuz itself, looking at the space station getting smaller in the camera as it backs away.
For the first separation burn.
Next up is going to be the first of two separation burns that will move it away more quickly and fully from the International Space Station. The first one will come at 5:53 p.m. Central Time, just a minute or so away.
Terra 1 IRU is -39. Terra 1 IRU is also -39, and parity error is 0. Copy.
And the video camera just switched back to the wide angle. Do you want me to...
Still about 30 seconds away from that first separation burn. The Soyuz jets are going to be firing for 8 seconds to ease it further away.
Command radio link. Copy. It was you, I didn't realize.
Ожидаю первый импульсный отвод.
I am standing by for the first burn, separation burn, and that's where the работа comes up.
Seeing that separation burn happening now, this again is an 8-second burn that is going to move the Soyuz further away from the space station at just over a mile per hour.
Hope to see you soon again.
Team here on the ground reporting good separation burn. MS-20 is now moving away from the space station.
We are done with
The rate's 1.2 mile per hour, and we'll be standing by in just a moment for the second separation burn.
I'm standing by for the second separation burn.
This one will last 15 seconds and speed the spacecraft up by 3.5 miles per hour.
Station Moscow.
Less than 30 seconds to go into that second separation burn.
Anton, your go to put KVD on MRM 2 in the closed position. Yes, Anton copies.
Есть работа ДПО.
Thruster firing confirmed.
Second separation burn has started now. This one again lasts for 15 seconds. Speeds the spacecraft up by 3.5 miles per hour. It's still not moving too fast, but that'll certainly be coming up later in the cruise journey. And another good burn.
Copy.
Both separation burns now complete. That should put the Soyuz at a safe distance and time for the deorbit burn that will drop them back into the Earth's atmosphere at 8:18 p.m. Central Time and put them on a course to return for a Kazakhstan landing at 9:13 p.m. Central.
Выдал команду 18, есть физическая перекладка ВСК.
And I sent the VSK switching command, Victor 18.
Подтверждаю.
And I confirm Victor 18 went through, and we're done with the cycle. Boost is no longer illuminated, and repress is no longer illuminated. E1 is not illuminated, and I am sending
Views again coming from the Soyuz itself, looking at the International Space Station, moving just out of view at the top right-hand corner of the screen.
And we confirm the first manifold has been selected. Copy.
Выдаю D8. Выдаем D8.
And please send Delta 8 command.
ССВП отключен.
SSVP
Выключаю фару.
docking and an internal transfer system is no longer illuminated, and I'm turning off the floodlight.
Фара отключена.
The floodlight is no longer on.
Moscow Station on space to ground 1.
And we are putting the translation and rotational hand controllers in the transport position. Affirmative.
Anyway, yeah. Please hold. Put it back to transportation position. Back? Yes. Okay. Проверяю параметры КДУ.
And we are checking unintelligible KDU.
Beautiful view here of the Soyuz MS-20 moving away from the International Space Station and flying about 260 miles above the coast of Russia. Continuing to move steadily away from the International Space Station, working to get into place for its scheduled 8:18 p.m. deorbit burn.
Okay, fix it. With fix. Давление шарбаллонов 163,3.
163 and 3 and 0.3 and 1.6 is the pressure in the O2 tanks. Copy.
Топливо.
Propellant.
486.
486.
Принято 486.
Copy. 486. And we will proceed with deactivation on your go.
Саш, можно отключить телевидение?
You can turn off the video cameras. Copy. We can turn off the video cameras.
Now that the Soyuz MS-20 has safely backed away from the International Space Station following its 5:50 p.m. central undocking 263 miles above Mongolia, we're going to take another break in our coverage. We'll be back at 8 p.m. Central for the Soyuz 5-minute and 20-second deorbit burn that's scheduled for 8:18 p.m. From that point on, we'll stay with you until the crew has landed and is out of the vehicle. Again, that landing tonight is scheduled for 9:13 p.m. Central Time. So again, we'll be back at 8 p.m. Central for continuing coverage of the MS-20 landing, bringing Alexander Misurkin, Yusaku Maezawa home, and Yozo Hirano home back to Earth after a 12-day mission. This is Mission Control, Houston.